So like I said, welcome everybody, welcome to our team call. My name's Andy Boswell, and together with Lisa and a few others in the group, we run this meeting on a regular basis on a Monday evening. And we've got a special evening lined up this evening. Before we start though, as always, we like to go through and do a little bit of recognition in the team and give you a few updates. So just bear with me whilst I go and bring up the slides. Okay, so we always start off by giving some recognition for those people who've been enrolling either wholesale customers or wellness advocates into the doTERRA business, of course. So this is for July month to date so far. So within our group so far, we have Claire Sales, Rebecca Edwards, Jan Alexander, Anka Garland, and Michaela Stadler, who've all recruited at least 4 people. So well done to you. With 5, we've got Saskia Bow. I believe she's on here this evening as well. Congratulations to you, Saskia. With 6 people, which is we've still got quite a bit of July left to go. We have got Neil Young, Judith Stadler, and of course our own Lisa Burke. With a massive 12 people recruited so far in July. Congratulations to Alison Thomas. And with a whopping 14 people so far in July enrolled. Congratulations to Vanessa de Noguera. Hopefully I've said that correct, but well done to you, Vanessa. A reminder as well that all the way through July we still have our extended enrolment incentive. The brilliant value, the kits that people start on anyway, but they're even better in July because if anybody starts on either a Family Essentials or a Home Essentials kit in July, sets up 100 PV loyalty rewards order for August, they get 100 free loyalty points awarded in September. And for those of you that are thinking, well, what's a loyalty point worth? Approximately this, okay? 100 loyalty points is worth approximately $100 US. So it's, and they can spend it on any products they choose. It doesn't just have to be these ones here illustrated. So that's one certainly to make use of throughout July. And also, of course, BOGOs. If you're not sure what BOGO stands for, it's basically what the rest of the world call bog-offs, okay? But doTERRA call them BOGOs. So buy one, get one. And for the next, well, it was for a total of 72 hours, going from the 20th to the 22nd of July. Anybody who buys either a Serenity, you will get a cedarwood free, a turmeric, you'll get an Island Mist free. That's not actually available to purchase in the UK either. Or if you buy a thyme, you'll also get a marjoram free. That's a total amount I worked out because it is available in the United States, that particular Island Mist. But it's a saving. If you buy all 3, you take advantage of all 3 of these. That's a saving of £65, but that's got to be done by 11 PM on the 22nd. So make sure you're letting your customers know so they can take advantage of that particular one as well. And of course, this week we have our Intro to Oils online classes. These are 3 that we run each week. And these are really for you to invite your prospects along to and get a hopefully professional presentation about the business. And all you've got to do, of course, is follow up after that to see if they're interested. So we've got one tomorrow at 7 PM, Thursday the 23rd at 11 AM, and also this Saturday, the 25th of July at midday. And people can log into that anytime up to 20 minutes before the call actually starts. So let me just stop sharing that now. Oh, good to see we've got a few more bodies in since we started that. And let me tell you a little bit about this evening's very special guest speaker. Let me just tell you a little bit about how I got to hear about Dan Marsden. Sue kept nagging me, basically. So I've got this great video. Sue, as you probably know, you've heard her do trainings about networking. And she was in this networking group. So there's a brilliant training this guy called Dan Marsden does about LinkedIn. He said, I want you to listen to that because I know you're looking to find out more about it. And like I said, she kept nagging me. I said, okay, I'll get round to it. It was about 45 minutes or an hour. I thought, you know, eventually I'll get round to it. And I watched it and I thought, this is absolutely brilliant. So there you go, Dan, that's actually built up the expectation straight away. But no, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I took lots of notes, and some of you may have been on here 2 or 3 months ago where I think I did a talk said about some amateur guide to LinkedIn, which I took a lot of that information. Now, I've learned a lot more about it since, because I found out that Dan was doing just done a day's training, and I'd missed it because Sue'd been nagging me and I never got around to watching it. I'd missed this live day's training, which I would have invested, I think, about 70 or 80 pounds at the time to have gone on that. But I spoke to Dan. He said, I've got something coming out on an online course and it'll be out soon. And the day it came out, I purchased it, and it's been absolutely brilliant. And so I've been speaking to Dan and said, would you come on and do a training for us this evening? And I know Dan is very much about, you know, saying it as it is. He doesn't talk theories. He talks about, you know, the reality of how to do things, which is why I really enjoy what he does. So without further ado, I will pass you over to Dan Marsden. You'll need to unmute yourself, Dan. Should be able to do that.
There we go. So I think I was waiting for you, but thank you very much. It's a very, very, very kind introduction. Very, very kind. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on this evening. It's I'm really pleased to be meeting everybody. Yeah, I mean, look, I've spent 20 plus years in sales, business development, and marketing functions, primarily in the property industry in the UK. And I spent my life really, I guess, with one real remit, which is to bring in customers and make the companies I've worked for and with money. Which I guess for people that are in a position where they have to do that, it's a lot to think about. And I guess having done it wrong for so many years, spending my life selling products and services, mostly to other businesses, so a lot of B2B selling, but spent many years selling to the general public as well. You find your way. And like everybody, I guess, I've looked at a lot of content online. I've bought courses, I've invested in stuff that I thought would work for me, just to find out that really there's a lot of snake oil out there. I got really annoyed about it. And as Andy says, I'm kind of a bit of a no-nonsense guy. And anybody that's known me for any long period of time, I'm not direct in a rude way. I'm never rude, but I just, if there's a white elephant in the room, I've always just said it. And selling is one of those things. There are some people that I follow online who totally guess it. I think in terms of a sort of consultative selling has always been my way, really. I think positioning yourself as an expert in your market, demonstrating quality rather than, you know, setting yourself apart. And there's lots of cliches that you'll hear me mention, that a lot of people mention when they talk about value and all this sort of stuff. And people talk about it, but don't actually do anything with it. So I guess for me, LinkedIn formed a major part of my business development piece, really, ever since September 2005 when it came to the UK. And it's had a massive effect on my, I guess, successes over the years, because finding people to buy my products and my services has been my raison d'etre for so long, really, for my whole professional life. I trained to be a solicitor and ended up in property. And finding buyers for kit has always been a way of life for me, really. And I've always wanted to find the way of doing that without irritating people. And there is so much white noise online now with the invent of the internet. There is so much beige white noise that it is very difficult to find your way through it. So I have found ways to do that work for me. And having invested money and time, hundreds and probably thousands of hours in other people online who have tried to tell me that do this and do this and you'll get leads. Well, my experience has told me that that's just nonsense. So I did decide actually about 2.5 years ago, it started with a friend of mine who had an engineering company, had been established since 1990, had always relied on referrals. The phone stopped ringing one day for the first time, it seemed like ever. And he was getting worried because he had 9 engineers sitting downstairs in the workshop not doing much. So I said to him, well, you need to be getting on LinkedIn. And he said, well, LinkedIn's just a waste of time. Social media is a waste of time. I said, well, it is a waste of time if you don't use it in the right way. So it started with him. And I guess for the last 2.5 years, I've been teaching companies and sales teams, not just how to use LinkedIn, but how to write compelling emails, how to think about messaging, all that sort of stuff. But I guess really LinkedIn came to the fore for me in 2009 during the recession. I moved to Dubai the property market fell off a cliff. I moved to Dubai and I started working for a Manhattan-owned training company, a global company, but they had no presence in the Middle East. I had some experience in the Middle East through property, and over the next sort of 4 years I was in Dubai, we built up a $4 million turnover business, and pretty much I'd say probably 85% of all business that I generated in that company came from LinkedIn. So what I therefore teaching people is how to find the people to have the conversations with, and how to start those conversations, and what those conversations should look like, so you don't repel people. It's very easy when you're selling anything to repel people really quickly. So the last couple of years I've spent really talking to companies about how to start those companies and make the very best of what they have, start those conversations, exchange some value, and not just sort of muddle your way through with half advice about, if you post random stuff that looks very much like ads every day, people will relate to it and they'll buy from you. Well, that's just nonsense. So I guess the chat I did with Andy, it was a lunch and learn for a networking group that we have locally here in Kent in England. And there it was really helping people to understand the relevance and effectiveness of LinkedIn in effective business development, because that's what it's about. It's not just about, I guess, a one-off purchase. And I guess with you guys, you know, to have repeat purchases and people really having that relationship with you and your business is really, really, that's where you're going to find the real revenues, is to have repeat buyers in volume. Transforming a LinkedIn profile into a killer lead generation tool. And, you know, I teach that because it's very important. Your LinkedIn profile is basically this huge, great big bait that can be used to generate interest in you and your business. Mindset is absolutely crucial. So LinkedIn, so I'm just going to mention these things now, the sort of things that I can mention to you now. Mindset is absolutely crucial in selling. And it's probably one of the most crucial aspects of any training that I've given in the past. Daily disciplines, how you use, and it's not just LinkedIn, I'm talking about social media as a whole. You know, mindfulness when you're posting, if you're posting, and I'll talk about posting shortly, and connecting with people and actually treating those connections like real people rather than just connections that you just collect. There seems to be an obsession online with people collecting connections for no reason. And frankly, if you gave me with a phone with 100 people in it who I could talk to about my business, or 1 million people who have absolutely no interest in my business, then I know which I'd choose. So it's not about volume, it's about the quality of those connections. So, you know, it's very important to understand the difference between those two things. It's crucial to identify your target audiences, and you have several. I've had a chat with Andy, and there are several people that you can not only identify, but it's very important to make a fairly exhaustive list of the people that you would like to sell to. So I'm talking about job titles, industries, all those sorts of things. We'll talk about that shortly. Your headline and your summary and your profile, absolutely crucial in the role of passive selling. It is possible to sell to people without selling to them. Just to get them to your profile, you will sell to them. And I can, you know, Andy will know, I've talked to people about that. You know, your profile is extremely powerful. Understanding what and when to post and what to send and what not to do is absolutely important. In fact, what not to do is more important actually in some instances online than what to do, because like I said, the internet is just, it's white noise for the most part. I mean, I'm the same. I spend a lot of time ignoring people on LinkedIn now and just muting them because they just post nonsense or they just sell to me. And in fact, I had one tonight, a lady who connected with me and then tried to sell me B2B lead generation services, and clearly hadn't looked at my profile. Talking about adding value with your connections and content. So it's not just about selling more units. It's not just about getting more people into the business. It's not just about it. It is about relationships at the end of the day. And if, you know, from my experience, to build a successful business in any line of business, people buy from people has never gone far enough. People buy from people they like or like them. And you're only ever going to demonstrate those two things if you actually have real conversations with the people you're connecting with. So it's very important. And Apple always understood that, you know, this Apple crowd. You know, I bought my first Mac, I don't know how long ago, but many years ago, not because I thought the technology was better than Microsoft, but because I wanted to be part of the Apple crowd. It's very important, actually, certainly with the business that you guys are in, very much a lifestyle, very much about health, wellness, happiness. that you sort of resonate with those kinds of people. And there is a way to find those kinds of people very, very easily on LinkedIn. And actually, when I talk about LinkedIn widely, because LinkedIn uses what is effectively a Boolean search box, it effectively talks Google search. What I'm talking to you about here, you can use on any platform, Facebook, Twitter, any of those you can use to find the right people to start those conversations with. So this is about LinkedIn, but at the end of the day, you can find those people to have those conversations with. And those conversations shouldn't be starting with you. And that's the other thing that we'll talk about in terms of mindset. Selling isn't all about you. It's actually about the people you're selling to. So really at the end of, I guess, at the end of the training I have done, at the end of the conversations I have with friends, it's about using LinkedIn and refining your profile to act as an effective selling tool that you can sharpen, hone, and use to add thousands to your bottom line without always selling to anybody. So hopefully that sounds like it might be of some use. Like my friend said to me 2.5 years ago, why should I bother with LinkedIn? There are some very, very compelling reasons why you should bother with LinkedIn. And having chatted with Andy, I understand that you guys are involved not just with B2C, which obviously forms a large part of your businesses, selling to consumers, but also selling into businesses. So selling into holistic businesses is important. Now, for that B2B side of things, and even for B2C, where you have groups of individuals, it's very important. LinkedIn is crucial for a number of reasons. One, the current estimate right now, there are over 690 million people on LinkedIn right now. Okay, it's a significant proportion of the global population. 2 new members are creating a profile on LinkedIn every second. We've got over 28, and given we're such a small island with a population of about 65 million people, there are actually 28 million, in fact, over 28 million people in the UK with a profile on LinkedIn. So in terms of percentage of people in this small island who have a profile, you're not far off, half the population with a profile in the UK, certainly. Of the 690 million people that currently have a profile across the world, more than 310 million of those are using this on a monthly basis. And of those, 40% of the 310 million people are accessing this platform on a daily basis. That's a lot of people you can be talking to who are actively using this profile every single day of the week. And let's say of those, probably only about 1% of the LinkedIn's monthly users are actually sharing content on a weekly basis. So if you are creating really good content, you're one of only 3 million people doing it. And those 3 million people are netting 9 billion impressions. So it's streaming past people's profiles 9 billion times every single week. So there's an excellent opportunity if you are looking to produce something really fantastic in terms of content, to be part of a very small proportion of people who are actually posting on LinkedIn regularly. There's only 1% of people using it to post content. Most people seem to be just browsing other people's. A very recent stat from Microsoft, who own LinkedIn relatively recently, sessions, so logins to LinkedIn, have increased by about 22% in Q1 of this year, which is enormous. It's unprecedented. So people are using this platform more and more and more and more. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And certainly in terms of pushing your ability to press your business out there, to be seen, to get involved with conversations, it's fantastic. That the opportunity absolutely exists if you're going to get involved, get stuck in with conversations and demonstrate a degree of expertise, the benefits of using your products, and how this is a great thing for your customer and not just for you, which is where people get it completely wrong. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. There was a recent stat came out from LinkedIn. I haven't got the exact numbers, but it's just been published. LinkedIn have found that the cost per lead on LinkedIn is 28% lower than on Google AdWords. And I don't know if there's anybody on here. I suspect that doTERRA as a large company are using Google AdWords relatively heavily, but it's quite expensive. LinkedIn, definitely, if you have individual business owners looking to use this on a day-to-day basis, is certainly going to be cheaper, because the way that I'm going to talk to you about using it in a minute is effectively free. It's your time. Okay. The problem you've got with LinkedIn and like any other social media platform is obviously that people's attention spans have decreased over the years with the use of the internet. People's attention spans with a magazine or a newspaper used to be hours, or certainly a good number of minutes. Now, if you post an ad on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere like that, you're going to find that the measures, the metrics that are used to define the effectiveness of that ad, basically how many seconds did somebody look at your video for? And I think certainly on Facebook, who watched your video for 9 seconds or more, they actually measure that, because people are literally not watching stuff for more than 9 seconds. So I don't talk to people generally about being found on LinkedIn. And I said this to Andy earlier, if you want to get anything from social media, you have to put in the hard yards. It's a fallacy, and I have said this to anybody I've talked to about this in the past. It angers me, actually, those people out there that say they can teach you to post something that will bring you business. It's nonsense. I think if you can create an audience that likes what you're saying and you're posting really great content and stuff that they're really interested in, that's a very different thing to posting to an audience that doesn't really care about what you're doing or saying. So I think the first and most important thing for you to look at, and this is where I'm at odds with other trainers as well, build a network that understands and cares about your business. Do not, and I would say this, and I'm happy to have this discussion outside of this webinar, but don't accept connection requests from everybody. And I'm not sure if everybody understands the connections thing, but we'll talk about this now. But basically, every single decision maker you can ever understand, beyond your basic consumer who will buy your oils, every decision maker, certainly in terms of corporates and other businesses, has got a profile. Every single business owner, decision maker you can imagine has got a profile on LinkedIn, and given the numbers that I spoke to you about. And if the one person you're searching for actually doesn't have a profile, I can absolutely guarantee you that there's one person removed from them that does have a profile that can pass the word about what you're doing to them. So LinkedIn basically has 3 degrees of separation. And I think most people have heard of the 6 degrees of separation that connect you to every single person on the planet. But basically, a 1st degree connection is somebody you are directly connected with. 2nd degree means that one of your connections is connected to that person. And 3rd degree plus just means you're a couple removed. Needs a bit more work. So in terms of people searching, the reason I don't rely on searching, on people finding you on LinkedIn, and I'm going to give you some searches in a minute, but there are about 180 million searches done every day on LinkedIn by people looking to fulfill contracts, make professional connections, decisions. If you don't have a standout profile that makes a powerful first impression to those searchers, if you are found, you will lose out on your share of the 180 million searches. So to get found by the right people, and by maximizing the number of proven response drivers embedded in your LinkedIn profile, and that sounds very technical, but it just means using the right kind of wording and making sure that your profile is complete and talks about you in the right way, you give yourself a lot of potential opportunity. But also there's a double-edged sword, because while there's a lot of people who could find you, they have to do a lot of searching to find you. So if I type in essential oils in the LinkedIn search bar, for example, in the UK alone, there are 3,600 people with the word essential oils. And let's assume I'm a consumer. I'm not necessarily going to go onto LinkedIn to find that, but let's assume I'm a consumer. 3,600 people on LinkedIn in the UK, and in the US, even more of a minefield, there are 53,000 people to wade through. Well, I can't do that on LinkedIn. You can only look at so many people anyway, but it seems fairly impossible that you're going to be found by typing in a couple of keywords, okay? So you've got a lot of potential competitors. So you need to think of different ways to getting to your consumers, okay? But you've got to put the work in. And if I type essential oils UK into Google, I get 139 million results. So this is why I've turned to LinkedIn to find the people that I want to start these conversations with. I can't rely on Google because it's either expensive with keywords and AdWords, or it's 139 million people to wade through on Google. Well, most people don't venture beyond page 1, so that's impossible. So using LinkedIn to find people, target them, connect with them in the right way, start a conversation is absolutely the right way to do it. And getting your profile sorted so that people who visit your profile are instantly intrigued or interested, or they want to know more. Importantly, they're convinced that you can best solve something like a problem or a need or a curiosity, is going to be the best way for you to sell your products. Okay, because there are lots of people on there who nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody likes to buy. It's the oldest cliche in the book when it comes to selling. Okay, it's like walking through well, in the old days when you used to walk through a department store anyway. People, I like to buy a scent, but I don't want it sprayed on me as I walk through the shop. It's kind of like that. It's no different to searching for people online and contacting people. The other thing that ties in LinkedIn with Google, Google loves LinkedIn. It's a very high ranking page in Google. It's a very popular website. So there is a remote possibility, and I will say this because I'm not going to sell this to you, that if you draft your profile absolutely correctly, you'll be found on Google, but it is very, very possible. But if you draft your profile in the right way, because of the way that LinkedIn is indexed on Google, there is a chance you'll be found. So if you've used the right kind of words and someone's searching for something, essential oils, they're looking for some sort of holistic therapy, they're looking for a way to sleep, they're looking for whatever it is, and you've got the right words in your profile, there is a relatively decent chance that you will be found on Google. And in fact, we're talking about lead generation earlier, and Andy will know because I've spoken to him about this before, but there's an internet company I love. They do a CRM and lots of other wonderful things. They're called HubSpot. They did a research paper last year. LinkedIn is 277% more effective at generating leads than Facebook and Twitter. So I don't know what everybody is using at the moment. I don't know. I guess we'll find out afterwards how many of you are using LinkedIn at the moment, who's using Facebook, how you're using it, who's using Twitter. I mean, I use different things for different things, but at the end of the day, it's about starting those conversations with the right people. So what are people doing wrong? Now, again, I don't know how much you guys are using it. Ordinarily, I think if we were doing a training, you'd have sent me your LinkedIn profile. I probably would have had them ready, so we'd know what people were doing wrong. Generally speaking, what are people doing wrong on LinkedIn? They're treating it just like another social media channel, a bit like Facebook or Instagram. The tone is probably slightly wrong. They're not actively or strategically increasing their network. They're not using messaging properly or regularly. They're not posting the right type of content. The tone in their content's completely wrong for their audience. Their profile's not up to date. It's not full. They've not optimized the headlines. The headline's wrong. Their about section is incomplete, tells me nothing about you. There's no niche that identifies you to your target audience. You post something, then disappear. You don't follow up on comments. You don't get stuck in. And that's the thing. I think for me, the thing that most people get wrong on social media, they post and disappear. They comment and disappear. But look, if you've done any of those things, don't worry, because I'm not judging you. I've done them all myself. And it's only since spending a lot of time on this platform, you start to work out what works. So the first thing I say you need to think about, and this is, and you'll have to excuse me if you all think about this every day of the week, but I find that most people that I talk to don't think about this enough. The one thing that you need to be thinking about immediately, and I do literally mean taking a big piece of A3 paper and writing some of this stuff down, is thinking about your, I wouldn't say ideal client, but who do you want to sell to? Who do you sell to in terms of individuals? What does that person look like? What are their interests? What kind of businesses do you sell to? Andy spoke to me earlier about the kind of businesses you guys sell to. Aromatherapy businesses, holistic businesses, masseurs, all these sorts of places. But then you've got to take a big piece of paper and identify all of the people that you would love to sell to. There's no point, absolutely no point, adopting a scattergun approach to sales, because all you're going to do is waste valuable time and obviously money. Because when you're running your own business, you'll all know that your time is your money. So it's very important. The first thing you should do before we look at your profile or anything else is to look at who you are currently selling to. Are there patterns? If you're selling to businesses, are there job titles? Are there industries, particular niches within your sort of holistic businesses that are buying from you more often than others? So are there patterns? So you've got to look at your ideal client. Now, before you do any of that, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to mention this really quickly. I focus on this quite heavily in my training, but I'm going to mention this just because obviously I'm conscious of time. Traditional marketing techniques and finding your customers. Most companies I talk to, in fact, most companies generally that I see on social media, use techniques for selling that are interruptive in nature. So cold calling, print advertising, commercials, junk mail, emails. Most of those things are, those techniques are expensive. They're marketer centric. It's all me, pushing content and offers in front of people. And I see lots of people just posting offers. Here's our latest offer. Here's our latest offer. Here's our latest offer. It doesn't get seen. There is so much content online now on Facebook, ads zipping past my timeline. I've got YouTube adverts interrupting my latest recipe video I want to watch. I've got all these things that I want to see. Advert. I'm skipping straight past it. It's got to be really, really, really good for me to stop. Because the bottom line is, I love being sold to, said no one ever. People don't like being sold to, but like I say, they like to buy. Buy me, aren't we great? We've got an office dog called Rufus. We've won awards. We've done this. We've done that. When I've done sales training in the past, the question you need to ask yourself when you look at what you've written, if I said to you, so what? So what? We won an award for this. So what? We sold this. We've got this. This is this. This. So what? So what? So what? Whenever I do that exercise, ultimately the person sitting opposite me will then turn, yeah, but it does this for you and this for you and this for you and helps you with this and does this. Now I'm interested. You've stopped talking about yourself. You've stopped talking about your business. You've now started talking about your customers. What are your customers' pains? What are they struggling with? It's easy in this climate to talk about people's struggles, okay? I've tried the oils, okay? I spoke to Sue the first time I met her. She told me her story. I was absolutely, she made an immediate impression on me because she wasn't trying to sell me anything. She just told me about her story, what it had done for her, what these things could potentially do for me. She asked me about my background. I spoke to Andy straight after that. We had a telephone conversation. I've had a very, very stressful life work-wise. So I know you guys have to be careful in terms of compliance and wording and all this sort of stuff. But the fact of it is, storytelling, the human side of your business, relating to human beings, understanding the climate we're in, understanding the pressures people are feeling, and understanding how your products can help them with that pain and that worry and that, I know you have to be careful with the word stress, but those sorts of pressures and those everyday things that are coming out. And I'm not even talking about mentioning COVID because I suspect you'd have to be careful with that, but I'm talking about the climate we're in and the pressure people are under and not having a good night's sleep and all these things. You could talk about all of this without even mentioning the oil. The oil comes at the end. It's not a buy me. It's talk about you. We've all heard it. You've been to a party. Oh God, I had a chat with this guy Dan last night. It was amazing. The fact is I probably only said 10 words and asked you some questions and you think I'm an amazing conversationalist. And actually what you did last night was talk about yourself. That's no different in selling. You've got to resist talking about your business. You've got to resist talking about what you want and your prices and your offers. Okay, you want to be helpful, you want to be an expert, you want to focus on your client's needs rather than your own. And that is called the inbound sales methodology. It is flipping the usual interruptive, selfish approach on its head and putting the needs of your customers first. Now, I know lots of people in your business will do that already to a degree, because I had a conversation with both Sue and Andy and they both did it certainly face to face with me very well. The point is most people don't. And it's counterintuitive to most salespeople and business owners who always seem a little bit desperate to sell. Problem solvers do far more business nowadays than cold callers and people who push products in people's faces. That is a fact. That is a fact. Okay. I've got enough experience in sales to know that I've always worked well and I've always sold the largest volumes of kit when I've been far more consultative and listened to people. Inbound is all about being part of a conversation rather than being part of an obvious and often failing pitch. It's horrible to experience. It's horrible to be on the other end of it. I absolutely loathe it. I can't stand walking into shops where people are in my face in 2 seconds. You know what? If I walk into a clothes shop in the good old days and somebody asks me if I need some help, the likelihood is I probably will need some help at some point, but not the second I walk into the shop. And that's the point. And that's how most people sell online. They should do people the courtesy of having that conversation, and right at the end, talk about their services and their products, because it becomes fairly obvious you can help that person as you go along. Right, I've got something for you. Just listen to me for 5 minutes. This might interest you. Now I've heard your story. That is how you sell. That is how you sell your oils. You do not push offers in front of people. That is a no, as far as I'm concerned. And it's a fact. HubSpot have a particular approach to selling that I really like. And there is a journey that I think if we all accept that most sales nowadays start online, you will start that journey with people visiting a piece of content or an email or something that's been created from you. They visit that. So they go from visitors to leads to customers, and ultimately for you guys, advocates. Somebody saying, I bought these from these guys and they were amazing. You've got another customer. That customer is free. And that customer has recommended somebody else who's recommended somebody else. As far as I'm concerned, that's free business. That's the ultimate. That's quite tough to get to. But if you do it right, that's what you want to be doing. Okay. And I would say personally that LinkedIn is the best place to take your prospects on that journey from visitor to advocate in the easiest way. There's no reason why you can't do it on Facebook. There's no reason why you can't do it on Twitter. At the end of the day, social media for me is not about posting content. Social media for me is about finding the target audience that I have defined, finding a way that I know to start that conversation and have an actual conversation. Don't sell to them. They will buy if they're interested. You've got to understand most people that you're talking to are to a degree educated. They know what they want. With real estate, most people will know if they want to buy a house 11 seconds from walking in the front door. In fact, they've probably made the decision when they've driven up in the car. So it's no different with what you're doing. Okay. So who is your ideal client? And I say ideal, at the end of the day, people that your ideal client, I guess, is somebody who is buying from you again and again and again and again because they like you and they're like you. That's what I'm saying. People don't just buy from people. They buy from people they like or like them. So how do you find these people? You need to ask yourself some questions. It may be current customers that you can build a profile on, but you need to think about these things. Where are they located? What niche or industries are they in? Where are they working in terms of, not just physical locations, but, what are their job titles? Is there something that's coming up more often? What are their goals? What problems can you solve for them? What types of words do they use in their content? What types of words do they generally use in their profile? What type of content do they find useful and interesting? Okay, you can look at lower levels of search. So there's things in the advanced search on LinkedIn, education, and that sort of stuff. Okay, but LinkedIn is extremely useful in the advanced search for defining your target audience. Extremely useful. So the ones that I use to narrow down almost immediately, you need to look at location, industry, education, and role. Okay, they are the four that I focus on when I'm looking for people, because I find pretty much everyone I want there just by changing up the keywords and the locations. So once you start putting names and faces to your ideal audience, it starts to make it a lot easier to follow through the next steps. So thinking about who you currently have on your customer list, thinking about, and this is, you guys have formed big groups, so there must be patterns within this group. There will be patterns. And if you discussed it together, I'm absolutely certain you could probably take your piece of paper and fill it 5 times with the sorts of people. Now, I've mentioned this before in terms of value, but I just literally I typed in aromatherapy or aromatherapist, for example, could be a target for you guys. I think Andy mentioned it. So aromatherapy or aromatherapist in the UK, tiny island, I get 14,000 results for people who have got aromatherapy or aromatherapist potential clients for you in the UK. Okay. In the US, about 52,000 people. With the keyword Reiki, I've got 88,000 people in the US and 21,000 people in the UK. That's 2 words, potentially 3 words. That's a lot of people. It will take you a long time just with those niches to go through and find people that potentially would buy your product. Okay. If you narrow down that data and take an actual living person, Sonia runs a very successful spa. Okay. She's married, she's got 2 kids, she's been running her business for quite a while. She's extremely busy. She's got 26 people reporting into a very, very busy spa team. It's a rapidly expanding business. She's got a million things to do besides making sure she's got the best product lines available for her very demanding clientele. Even to get Sonia to the telephone, there are gatekeepers everywhere screening her calls, right? So and for some of you, this will sound very familiar. You will not get to Sonia because she's got loads of gatekeepers screening her calls. You can't get to her directly until you've broken down and established a meaning contact with somebody who might put you through. Okay, that's very difficult cold calling. Her common challenges are demanding investors looking for answers to their different questions on a weekly basis. Her days are really random in terms of demands thrown at her. She's got a really heavy client list with some celebrities they're just waiting to revisit because of what's happening. And despite not being over the moon with her current provider of essential oils, she hasn't really had the time to find a better option. Now, do you think you are going to get Sonia, the spa owner, to buy into your business by telling her how great you are? No, you're not. And she's not going to care about, in terms of first contact, about the most incredible offers you might have. They might be incredible. That's not how you open it. You can't open that conversation like that. Okay. She needs to understand how you can solve her pain points. And it might be actually, maybe her pain point is financial, in which case that's going to be really relevant at some point in that conversation, but it's not an opener. Okay. There are certain things that keep her awake at night, and there are some things that might change her, but the truth is your potential client may not know about you, may not know about the company, certainly won't care about you yet. Your potential client, in fact, probably has got absolutely no idea who you are or what you do. And even if they do find out who you are and what you do with a brief scan of your profile, unless you make it absolutely obvious how you can help them, and it may be you can help them with an amazing offer, but that's got to come at the back end of the conversation, is what I'm saying. Until you demonstrate that value, until you can demonstrate how you can help them and make it blindingly obvious because your profile tells your potential client on a brief scan how you can help them and not yourself, they won't care about your business. Now, I hear people talk about this all the time. Value, value, value. We all talk about it, but nobody actually does it. And the first time I did my training at a co-working space, well, not my training, actually, just one of these talks, I said this to everybody: demonstrate value, do this, do this. Everybody was nodding at me like I was an idiot, and it was blindingly obvious. But what they hadn't realized is that I had everybody's LinkedIn profiles, and the night before I'd looked at everybody's LinkedIn profile. There were 75 of them, and only 4 of them had done it on their profile. So the truth is, although everybody seems to know this stuff and it seems really obvious, identify your audience, make it obvious what you do. Don't try to sell to people that clearly are not interested. Until people actually do that on their profile and actually go through the processes of trying to start these conversations with people, you're never going to sell any units. You're never going to start those relationships. So this is all a process, and it all sounds really obvious. And when I first had this conversation with my best friend from school, he said, well, it's bloody obvious. I was like, well, it might be obvious, but you're not doing it. And then we did it, and we repeated it, and we repeated it. And we did that for 2 weeks, and he had work for the next 9 months. And all 9 engineers were very, very busy. It works. This stuff works, but you've got to do it. You've got to put in the yards. You've got to understand that you're not going to put a post out there that is paradigm shifting and absolutely so incredible. You're going to get 70,000 views and 70 leads. It just doesn't happen. Okay. And there are companies out there selling this snake oil. And one of the reasons I got into doing this sort of stuff is because and this is where the direct me comes in. It irritates me. Business owners, most of the business owners I talk to cannot afford this organic content marketing fallacy that people are selling, that if you post, you'll get leads. Yes, you might get leads if you post something really interesting to your carefully curated audience. You absolutely will get leads. If you put stuff out into the ether, into the internet, it will come back like a boomerang with nothing attached to it. I can promise you. What you need to do is to think about your audience very carefully. Who is buying essential oils? Which businesses are buying them, and what kind of interest do the people that you are selling to, consumers, do they have? There are, and I'm not really going to touch on this too much, but you probably know there are groups in LinkedIn. If you look at the groups in LinkedIn, the groups on LinkedIn are absolutely useless for having discussions in. They are hopeless. You're not going to get any engagement in there, just like you're not going to get any engagement with company profiles. What you can do with groups is, and if you type in aromatherapy, if you type in Reiki, if you type in into the search bar and click down to groups, you will find absolutely gigantic groups stuffed with people who have the same interests as you and who will almost certainly buy your products if you don't treat them like idiots and try to strike up a conversation with them. Again, it takes time to wade through those people, to make those connections and start those conversations. But I promise you, if you look at the groups, join some groups of people who have the same interests as you, you can, once you've been accepted to those groups, you can look at those members, you have access to thousands and thousands and thousands of leads. Okay. So again, it's no good if your profile's not sorted, and it's no good if those conversations you're starting are sales pitches. You'll get shot down. Okay. So that's your audience. Very quickly, the most important piece of copy on your LinkedIn profile is your headline. I don't know if anybody's got their computer open, their browser open or logged into LinkedIn. If you look at your headline, it's it was 120 character headline. It's recently been changed at the beginning of this month. You can now have 220 characters on that headline. I would suggest you don't have 220 characters and you try and keep it to the original, because frankly, I think a headline that's too long is just boring. There are lots of different formulas for that profile headline. Almost everybody gets it wrong. I can almost guarantee you that most people on this call, your headline doesn't work and doesn't go far enough. That headline is the most important piece of copy on your LinkedIn profile because it appears under your name just about everywhere on LinkedIn. When you post, when you comment on someone else's content, when you come up in searches, and of course, when somebody visits your own page, that headline underneath your picture, let's assume that you've been lucky enough, or you've done something very clever that's got somebody to your page, and they look at it, and they look at it for 6 seconds because that's what it takes for them to leave. If they can't see what you do and how you can help them almost immediately, let's say Sonia, you've managed to get her to your profile because you've been very cunning and used some very cunning techniques to get her there. If she looks at your profile and it's not obvious within 6 seconds how you can help her, you won't be seeing Sonia again. She'll be off. Okay, almost everybody gets this wrong. And the 3 main mistakes people make, generally, they try and list everything they do, which is boring and it doesn't engage users at all. It makes you look like you've lacked focus. You're too creative, crazy symbols, buzzwords, over-the-top statements, bit of a turn-off. I mean, everybody's seen ninjas, gurus, rock stars, badasses on LinkedIn. It's amazing how many wizards and ninjas there are on LinkedIn. I can't remember, but there are thousands and thousands of them. And I don't think they're actual ninjas, but there are lots of them. But most commonly, headlines on LinkedIn are too vague. They just don't tell me what you do or how you can help me, most importantly. Your headline should do the following generally. Who do you help or serve or work with or collaborate with? So what outcomes do you deliver? What pain do you take away? It's an easy one for you guys. You probably resolve lots of different things with the amazing products that you're selling. Lavender is my favorite. And how do you do it? What's your secret sauce? What is your secret sauce? Who do you help? What outcomes do you deliver? And how do you do it? It doesn't matter how you write that. There are lots of trainers who are precious about the word helping. You don't have to help. You can do what you want. But you've got to make it obvious for our sample Sonia, when she visits your profile, your dream spa client who buys thousands of pounds worth of oils every month. You need her to be intrigued. A successful LinkedIn headline communicates specific, tangible benefits of working with doTERRA. What is the specific, tangible benefit of working with you specifically? What are your customers going to get from you? Yes, they're going to get the best deals, but bear in mind you've got different orders, because you guys potentially want to be bringing in wellness advocates as well. It's not just about selling units. It's about bringing people into the business. It's about bringing in other businesses. It's about bringing in consumers. It's about, but you will have a headline that will go bang. I get it. I know what Charles Parker does. Sorry, Charles, you're the only one that's on my just popped up. I know what Charles does immediately. I need to have a chat with him because I've just read his profile and it's absolutely what I need right now. That's what I need. So you need to highlight specific abilities, skills, clear benefits. Potential customers are going to go, I got it. That's exactly why I need to give that guy a call. If it's not obvious, you've lost your dream client. You had basically the biggest fish on that hook you've ever seen and it's wriggled free and you're not going to see it. You've wasted it. Okay. So why? And it's not about, you know, this is the other thing. People use their LinkedIn profile as an online CV because, to be honest, a lot of people, lower level, low to mid-level employees want recruiters to look at their LinkedIn profiles. So they write it like a CV. You're business owners. You've got different priorities. So it's not about bragging. It's not about, you know, self-serving messages. It's about your client. What pain do you resolve? Sleep, feelings of anxiety, obviously, you know, again, compliant phrases, but you've got to find that story. You've got to find that hook. You've got to find a bait that makes me interested, because like I said before, if I've typed in essential oils and you happen to have popped up, you're one of 88,000. Good luck. But if you've managed to get me to your profile because you've been proactive and slightly cunning, and I visited your profile and I've read it, and about 17 seconds later, I've pretty much decided we need to have a chat because your profile is perfectly crafted and you've made me intrigued. I don't care that you've won awards. My response is the same as before. So what? We offer a 5-star service. So what? 24/7. Boring. Our staff are lovely. Ugh, great. We've got an office dog called Fergus. Great. That's lovely. Save it for Instagram. I don't care. I visited and I've gone. Okay. I've disappeared. Without getting into massive detail, your summary is about 2,000. Your about section, about 2,000 characters. Sell yourself. Speak in a nice, relaxed tone. It doesn't want to be formal. Doesn't want to be too informal. Talk about your customers. It's all about your client. Okay. So you need to be spending most of that, I'd say 90% of that profile summary, the about section. You've got to capture the right attention and make them want to keep reading. It's the nodding dog. All right. You've got them there. Do not blow it. So asking questions. Are you struggling with this? Is this an issue? Is this the problem? Da 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 da. You know, are you looking for somebody who can help with this? We should chat. Think about the frame of mind somebody might be in when they first visit your profile. Why are they visiting your profile? You might have got them there, but you've got to get inside their head with your copy. You've actually got to spend some time on your profile, because this, if you put a nasty piece of stale bread on the end of a hook in a lake, you are not going to catch a prize pike. You need something really tasty on there, and something really tasty on your LinkedIn profile doesn't say, here's our latest offer, get some. It's not going to work. Right? You've got to get in the head of your business owners, your consumers, people you want to leverage. You know, I put somebody recently who's in the beauty business. She's done a webinar with somebody who does exactly what she does in the US. She doesn't know her. They got to know each other. They did a webinar together, swapped experiences, and they got leads from it because they found someone else to talk to and present something else and talked about. So you might want to find something, find an aromatherapist, do a webinar. You can find all of these people on LinkedIn. It's not just about finding customers. Sometimes you've got to be a bit inventive. Find people to collaborate with who can help you with your efforts. Look at your competitors. I don't know how many of you guys are competitors, but as a salesperson, I'm looking at mine every week, every 2 weeks. What content are they producing that is resonating with their audience? Is there anything I can model? Is there anything I can use? If I'm an estate agent and Purple, for example, actually, I've got a long history with Savills, right? So I'm an estate agent on the high street. Savills are amazing at marketing. I'm going to look at Savills marketing. I'm going to model my stuff, my messages. I know you might be tied to a certain, but messaging, language, they've spent millions working this stuff out. I'm going to model my stuff on that. Look around, lift your heads, pay attention to what's going on, okay? Your summary, make it easy to read, short paragraphs, nice little paragraphs, proper punctuation. People that say it doesn't count are idiots. It does count. Just do a nice job and make it really obvious. Who do you help? How do you help them? Why should they talk to you? And at the very end, talk about your business. Talk about your latest offer. You can put your latest offers, actually, you can pin media to your about section. You can put your BOGO offers all along the top. Do what you need to do. Find some latest research that's been brought out from Doterra about the benefits of X, Y, and Z. Pin it all there. People can look at it. Pin videos, pin YouTube stuff, whatever you like. It can all go there to the top of that about section, okay? You need to give them a fuzzy feeling about your business. So that's what you need to be focusing on, okay? So look for your client, sort your profile out, and then start having a look for people, start connecting with people. We can talk about connection requests and all that sort of stuff. That's all part of a bigger discussion. LinkedIn is insanely powerful. And I specialize in LinkedIn because I spent a lot of my time working B2B, but it's insanely powerful for B2C because you have access to human beings on LinkedIn. You've just got to linger in the same places they linger and talk about the same stuff and get yourself noticed. And when they look at your profile and realize you're somebody they should talk to, and you connect with them and you're proactive and you follow up and you make sure you follow up, you generate leads. Your visitors become leads, who become customers, who then start buying with you every month. So that's kind of where I am. I've absolutely no idea how long I've been yakking for.
Brilliant, Dan.
That's kind of it in a nutshell, really, Andy. There's so much, there's so much more, but that's it.
You okay to hang around for sort of 10 or 15 minutes to answer a few questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, first of all.
You're so welcome.
Such a big subject that to be covered, and we'll talk a bit more about that because somebody's asked in there, this is great training, how do we get more? Well, I'm sure we'll touch on that in a second anyway.
Absolutely.
But so if you've got any questions and you want to come on, or you want to put them in the chat, or if you want to come on live, that's absolutely great. You can come on and unmute yourself. Before we do that, Jan has asked a question saying, what is your opinion on, I probably know the answer to this, knowing you, but what is your opinion of Sales Navigator and Octopus for searching LinkedIn?
Right. Unless you have squeezed the living pips out of a free account, you shouldn't be buying one anyway. About 39% of users have got a premium account. And I would say to anybody, you should not be investing your hard-earned profit in LinkedIn premium of any description until you have squeezed the capability out of the free one. You'll know because you've done the training, Andy, that actually there's lots you can do. You don't need, I don't see any, I've come away from the premium totally about 2 years ago. I've used it for 3 years. It gives you more searches. It gives you better metrics. It tells you a few things. But to be honest, there are lots of different ways of finding people to talk to. You don't need a premium account unless you've absolutely, exhausted the free account in terms of searches. But even when you've done that, there are other ways of finding people to talk to. So I'm not familiar with Octopus. Sales Navigator I've used. They're decent. But yeah, my answer to anybody, if you haven't absolutely maximized the use of the free account, you shouldn't be spending a penny on anything, and that includes ads. To be honest, you should be really doing free stuff first, exhaust the free stuff, and then when you've moved beyond that, try something else.
Yeah, and somebody just come up, and Saskia saying, can we have more training, books, course, etc., which I guess leads us into into something that I was speaking to Dan about, because when I missed that training day that Dan did, I think we've got somebody who's unmuted there, let me just see. When I missed that training day, I went and bought a training from him for £45 that was absolutely fantastic. And it 4.5 hours, 3.5 hours, 4.5 hours, Dan? I think you're muted, by the way.
3.5 hours. It's 3.5 hours. Yeah, that was my dog barking.
Oh, I thought it was.
It's no. It's 3.5 hours. It's in 19 modules, and it splits it down. So the sort of stuff we've talked about tonight, I've just split it down, and that it came about because I'd always done this training, gone into a company, done a day's training with a number of people. And of course, business owners don't want to be spending what I was charging a whole company of 10 people. So I was like, I need to find a more affordable way of doing it. So there were two ways I did it. There was the public courses, which I was starting to do, but they've always been painful because if you get people drop out, you booked it. I thought, no, I can't do that. So my friend said to me, you're going to procrastinate. You're not going to do that. I was talking about the online one for ages. And one weekend I sat down and I spent about 12 hours recording everything, but it's a 3.5 hour course, and it will get you from 0 to pretty much ahead of 95% of the entire user base. And it is a no nonsense approach, because like I said at the beginning, anybody that knows me, I don't do nonsense. I just think it's insulting to people to try and sell anybody anything that I haven't done myself. And I'm a sales director of 20 plus years. So it does work. It needs work. It's not about dipping in, when you want and just expecting results. You've got to be consistent with it. And that's the key really with anything.
Yeah, and really annoying for me anyway is that I paid 45 quid for it, and he's actually putting it on for you guys for 35. Okay, so there you go. And just so you know, I'm not getting a carve off on this, all right?
Okay.
Well, not unless I've missed something, but no, I'm not.
I'll slip you a tenner when I see you next, Andy. How's that?
I'm expecting it. Like I said, if people get value out of it, great. And I know, and Dan's not a heavy person for, as you probably.
If anybody's not sure, look at my LinkedIn. I mean, my LinkedIn profile is confusing at the moment because I'm actually doing a project I'm focusing on, which is about mainland Chinese investors. So it looks a bit odd. But my business consultancy stuff's still there. I'm actually working with an old client of mine because my business, my background is real estate. So, but if you go on there and you see Chinese stuff, don't be confused. That is me.
Really topical that is at the moment.
Yeah, if you scroll down and just look at the recommendations, there are some relatively recent ones from the training. But I know it works, and I've always followed up with people who have done the training. I know it works, and I would feel horrendous trying to sell somebody something that I haven't actually done.
I'm sure Dan
myself,
will probably put a link in the chat, but we'll put it in the groups afterwards anyway. So if you want to purchase it, then that's great. If not, then obviously it's been brilliant anyway. So let's see what else we got. So thank you, Dan, for making this affordable. That's from Jolene. Janet Smith's been so informative and interesting. Has anybody else got any questions? We've got one here from Adrian. Dan, what were the 4 action points again, please?
The action points. Which ones are they?
You want to come on, Adrian, and just ask?
I found something else. Do you want to know what were the 4 neutrality acts?
Yes, sorry, not sort of action points, but the 4 things that you look for. Location was the first one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So location, industry, job title. Yeah, industry, job title. I've actually got a list. In fact, if you give me all 2 seconds, I've got a list. I put one together. I will, or I may send it to Andy. I've got a list of, if you're using a free account, of every industry on LinkedIn, so you don't have to try and guess, which I'll send. Hang on 1 second. Let me find it, and I will send it to you. 1 second. 1 second. I don't know if you wanted to talk about something else, Andy, with your guys, but I'll just try and find this.
And let me just thank you as well for the presentation, because it's been excellent. So
It's an absolute pleasure, genuinely, a real pleasure.
You can always send
Have a
it
look.
to us if you wanted to privately, and I can always pop it into the groups.
I've got it. I've got it here.
Okay.
I've got it here. I've just found it. I'll send it to you, Andy, now if you want, or I can just put it
Put
in
it
the chat.
Yeah, pop it in the chat.
Put it in the chat now. This is the LinkedIn industry list. Of course, it won't let me paste it. So look. There we go. No, it's not going to let me do it. In 1 second. Sorry. Okay.
Like I said, if it is a problem, I can put it in the groups.
I mean, to be honest, you're probably better off, rather than industries, for you guys on a search. It's not letting me do it, actually, Andy. I'll send it to you separately. It won't let me paste it in.
I'll pass it on. So
It's too long. It's too long. I'll send it to you a messenger now. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy if you've got any questions afterwards that you think about. Obviously, you can send them via Andy, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or however you want. But I'm always happy to help people with stuff. LinkedIn forms part of there are lots of ways of finding. At the end of the day, LinkedIn is something I focused on for very obvious reasons for me personally. But Facebook is very useful as well for groups. At the end of the day, you've got to get stuck in with conversations. You've got to be visible. I think that's the key to social media. Now, it doesn't mean irritating, and it doesn't mean posting nonsense every day. It just means getting involved. So, like I said, groups on LinkedIn are not great for engagement, but they are great for finding people. Facebook is very good for groups, it seems, I think, and Twitter is good just for finding people. If you type keywords into Twitter, you will find all sorts of people who are interested in what you're interested in. And that's what it's about. The key is to defining who you want to sell to. And I do mean defining to the nth degree. I don't mean just vague, woolly description of who you like to sell to. I literally mean everything you can think of that you can use as a keyword to search for, either on Google, on Twitter, on Facebook, find groups. You could find, I guarantee you, within about 2 hours, you could probably find about 1 million people to wade through. So would I recommend posting something daily? Janet, if it's valuable, or if you find it interesting, and your audience is like you and like-minded, they probably will find it valuable too. But there are lots of people on there trying to post stuff that's either controversial or hilarious, or a video of a sloth being rescued from a tree, which will get you thousands of likes, absolutely guaranteed. It won't get you customers. And any business owner I've talked to doesn't want likes. They want money. They want sales. They want to be doing deals. They want people you want more wellness advocates. You want more revenue. You want more oil sold. Now, I'll tell you, look, you can have 50,000 likes tomorrow, or I can get you 50 of your BOGO deals done the day after. I know which one you're going to choose. You dismiss the like. I'm happy not to be liked personally. I'd rather be doing deals, and that's what it's about for me. Social media is a means to an end. I'm not looking to build an audience to become famous. I help people build audiences to sell kit, and that's what it's about. So posting is important. If you can be consistent and you can resonate with your audience, absolutely. With your businesses, 100%. Like I said to you, when I first met Andy and Sue, it's the human side of your business that resonates. It's not about sometimes the product. Actually, the benefits of the products are obvious. And I tried a couple of the oils, and I have to say, I've always loved lavender anyway. And it's weird actually that Andy and Sue, that's one of the ones they really recommended. It's amazing. So it is very much about the stories. And if you have a story to tell, and you have a story to tell about how these oils have helped you and why you got involved with a business, actually people want to hear that, because they don't know you and they don't know your business. So you've got to understand. So when I first met Sue, for example, at ABC in Kent, she did a little pitch, and you kind of get to know it and you understand it. And actually there isn't any heavy sales pitch there. It's about Sue, and it's about what this means to her. And that's the difference. And she does it in a minute. And it's about how it helps. And it's about changing your life one drop at a time, I think was the thing she said every time she finished, something like that. Amazing. Because that's aimed directly at the user. And it's not a pitch. It's a nice line. I like it. So you've got to just not be salesy. And in terms of content, I'll tell you what I would say. There's a ratio that I like. And I always forget it. It's the 15 to 1. Is it 15 to 1? I'll tell that anyway. Basically, I would say to you, Let me get my notes. There is a ratio that I quite like. Okay. I would basically say out of 15 posts or 10 posts, let's say 10 posts, I would do probably 5 shared pieces of content. I would probably do 4 original pieces of content and 1 absolutely blatant sales post. Because if you're sharing content from people who have your interests and you find it interesting, your audience will find it interesting. I would say that sharing stuff on LinkedIn doesn't tend to do too well. LinkedIn likes original content. So if you are going to post original content, it generally does better. Or copy and paste something and credit someone with it. But sharing someone's content on LinkedIn, probably only about 5% of your connections will see it. Because I don't know if anybody knows about the algorithm, but there are things that dictate who sees what on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Yeah.
It's all. So just be mindful. But that's a much bigger. Yeah, that's all covered in more detail elsewhere. But
I've just posted, by the way, in the comments the link if you are interested in getting the £35 course. For some reason, it's dragged all of Facebook's
hang on,
stuff off it as
hang
well.
on.
But don't, I'll put the proper link in the group anyway. So that's
Fine.
And it does take it. Trust me, it does take you to that particular.
That's fine. Absolutely fine.
It's just dragged up a lot of their code for some reason when I've copied it. So
does writing an article on LinkedIn have benefits, Nigel? Yes, it does. It does because sometimes you want to position yourself as being an expert in what you do, be an authority in what you do. Writing an article that's well written, and this all comes down to your audience. So some trainers say accept all connection requests. Well, given that the algorithm suppresses what you share, why would you share your very hard worked on content with people that have absolutely no interest in what you're talking about? For me, I'd rather build a network of 1,000 people that care about what I care about and who like and are interested in what I'm doing than 30,000 people who have absolutely no interest in what I'm talking about. So writing an article, yes, you've got a lot more in terms of words you can use. You've got a lot more freedom in terms of what you can do. And also you tend to find people that write articles, it gives you a bit more depth, really. You can always.
Sorry, I was going to say one of the things about audiences as well is that LinkedIn are very good at telling you after you've actually got an audience about loads of other people who are in similar fields who you may want to be connected to. And if you've just picked up everybody, and a lot of people do that, thinking I've just got 500 people or 1,000 or 10,000 people just who are completely random, they're not going to be able to give you those proper links onto other people who've got the same market. And I found that's, what was a really extremely good point that you made that saves me a lot of time, early on as well. Sorry.
I've been using this platform since 2005. And if I wanted to get to my 30,000 limit, I would have done it a decade ago. It's not hard to build a massive network of random people. It's easy.
Yeah.
You can buy followers. It's the worst advice anyone ever gave. Oh, you can buy followers, go and buy them. That make you look really popular. Yeah, brilliant. But if you're a business owner and you've got bills to pay and the bottom line is everything, why would you bother? It's a complete waste of time. Share your messages, share your content, have those conversations on a regular basis with people who are interested in what you do and who can help you and connect you with other people. That's it.
Just one of the things as well, just for everybody else on there, when I listen to training, if you've ever been on LinkedIn and start searching for people, obviously groups are one place you can do that, and I did that first time round. But there does come a time where you want to start looking for and searching for other people. And you think, this is great. I've got half a dozen, you go through half a dozen searches, and then it comes up with a thing saying, ding, okay, you're a power searcher. Now you've got to pay 50 quid a month if you want to use it. Dan shows you on the training there how to go and use Google using something called Boolean searches to find all of the people that you want completely free. This is what he's saying. You do not need to have a paid account to do this, and everything I'm doing is on a free account, and so that's worth less. That will cost you less than a month's money going premium with
Absolutely.
With LinkedIn. So it's brilliant value.
Absolutely. Look, if anyone's got any questions, Andy, feel free, send them to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm absolutely delighted, but it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it as well.
An absolute pleasure.
maybe come back at some point in the future as well. Who knows? Eh? So,
Yeah, I'd like that. Great.
Fantastic. Thank you very much
Super.
indeed. I think that's pretty much it for this evening. Did you want to say anything, Lisa, to finish off?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Dan. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.
Brilliant. If you want to unmute and thank
You all.
Dan, then
Have a great week.
fantastic. And we'll put the recording in the group afterwards, of course, with a link there. So,
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. That was brilliant.
Thanks,
Really enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Brilliant.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys. Thank you so much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good
bye,
night.
everyone. Thanks again, Dan. Bye.